One of the better parts of this hobby is when a delivery guy drops off one of these big boxes, and one of the big boxes that doesn't have any damage especially. This is my Valiant from Hangar 9, and they do a good job with their packaging. My biggest problem with this package was getting to the stuff inside. Somebody apparently put in some overtime trying to figure out how to get a big plane like this in such a little box. It's still hard for me to believe that there's a whole Valiant in this box, even though I'm flying the one that came out of this box. But I'm glad they got this figured out, because I got an undamaged airplane and all the pieces I was supposed to get. All of the Valiant parts are sealed in the plastic bags, which further protected them from damage. And I'm noticing right here that this covering hasn't loosened up at all. I know it will eventually, but we're starting off good anyway. I took the fuse out of the box and just laid it on top of the box, and then noticed that it looked like there's no way in hell it could go back in the box. So I left it out of the box and made an airplane. One of the knocks that I heard against the Valiant was that the wing tubes didn't fit in the wings very well at all. They had to sand the wings out to get the tubes in. They apparently fixed that problem because my wing tube fits fine in both wings. Another thing I heard from several people is that the holes for mounting the tail wheel were in the wrong place, but that apparently has been fixed also. The Valiant comes with the firewall all set up for their Evolution 33cc motor. And because they're trying to encourage you to use that motor, not something else, they don't give you a firewall to prop washer distance. And even the measured drawings for the Evolution motor don't help much, because those are marked in really dumb ways, it seems. It looked to me like a firewall to prop washer distance of 152 millimeters was going to be about right. I dug up some spacers that I need to get the DLE 40 mounted right. I don't know if I hit on the dimension that they were looking for, but the DLE fits perfectly and is plane balanced perfectly when I put it on the Easy Balancer. I spent about a half an hour going over all the seams with my iron just to make sure everything was stuck down. I only found one or two little places that were starting to lift, and all that fixed easily. I took some extra time to be sure that all the seams are nice and tight around all these window openings. None of them look like they're coming up, but this just gives me peace of mind. I did find a couple of places that needed some tightening up, but that went real quickly. The Valiant uses large CA hinges everywhere but on the flaps. The instruction says to drill this little hole at the center of the hinge points, and I guess that's to let the glue in better. I did as they said, and none of my hinges have fallen off. If you take your time putting these CA hinges in, you can get a very tight, very secure joint. CA hinges also speed up the building process by about a day. The tiller portion of the tailwheel assembly gets epoxied into the rudder. While you're waiting for that to dry, get out your thread locker and secure these set screws. The pin hinges that come with the Valiant look like they're fine, but a friend sent me a package of rollbar pin hinges, so we used those. I expect to be using the flaps a lot, so I want the best hinges I can get. The instructions give you the option of just screwing the tail feathers together so they're removable, or epoxying them together. Before you decide, you should know that the horizontal stabilizer is 37 inches wide. But that'll fit in my trailer, so I epoxied all of this together. The other thing I like about epoxying this is that I can make sure that the tail feathers are perfectly square to each other. That's going to be much harder to maintain with the bolt-together assembly. This is the mounting surface for the tail feathers. I'm going to use lots of good epoxy and the bolts to secure this. I also put epoxy in the exposed wood on the bottom of the horizontal stabilizer. I used the longest set epoxy I can find for something like this because I want to take my time and get the alignments just right. You can make a great plane fly terrible if you mess this up. I installed the wing tube and use that as a gauge so I can look down the fuselage and make sure that the horizontal stabilizer is perfectly lined up with this wing tube. This can take a little time to get right, but it's worth every bit of it. In segment 2, we're going to look at installing all the radio gear. So stay tuned. Sooner or later, we're going to get to fly this thing.